Do you game and want to use that as an excuse to promote music you like?
What? Me? What's up, guys, and welcome back to another school project. To be fair, this is just kind of filler right now. I'm working on some really big projects like that one and that one, so just bear with me here for a minute.
Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about music in video games, specifically jazz. It's for a jazz band project. Honestly, what did you expect? I'm going to split up the video into two parts, games that use jazz for the setting and games that use jazz for the heck of it. Overall, I will be covering 7 games on the screen right now, and hopefully you will enjoy this enough to like the video, and my teacher enjoys this enough to give me an A. With that being said, let's get into it.
Gee, that wasn't so awful.
A lot of games that use jazz take place in that kind of 40s, 50s era where jazz was quite a bit more popular. So our first example we're going to use today is LA Noire.
You play as Detective Mastermind Cole Phelps, an ex-military man who takes up the job as a man of the law in 1940s Los Angeles. In the real world, this was around the time when composers like Duke Ellington began making his name with the astoundingly popular Take the A-Train being released. Dizzy Gillespie was the undisputed king of bebop, and Thelonious Monk released Around Midnight, which ended up becoming the most popular standard ever written by a jazz musician. Now, LA Noire isn't a game that tries to be too overpowering. It's strictly historical fiction, and because of this, the devs wanted to create the same atmosphere as the real thing. Because of this, the composers took to their resources and created Round Midnight +1. If you listen to the original song, it's this slow, almost smooth-sounding saxophone and piano, and the menu theme adds more by sticking to the source material. You can hear that smooth saxophone and piano, but there's more here too. It's different, and honestly it's better, and fits the atmosphere perfectly. Not to mention the other music in the game, which varies drastically depending on what you're doing. Example includes driving, investigating a crime scene, or chasing a guy down, but it all sticks to the same overall style. Modernized, old jazz.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Someone was just talking into my earpiece. So our next game that we're going to be talking about,
Sheepdog and Wolf.
I've just been recently informed that there's an American version of it. I learned about it from a British YouTuber, and I only knew about the British version. The American one is actually called Sheep Raider. So I'm going to be referring to it as Sheepdog and Wolf throughout the video because I already wrote the script. And if you care, well, you clicked on the video, so that's your problem, man. Alright?
Sheepdog and Wolf takes the idea of modernized old jazz a step further, attempting to mimic the 1950s cartoon Ralph Wolf and Sam Sheepdog. But to be fair, I don't think I'm the only person who thought this was Wile E. Coyote for the longest time. I mean, who's even heard of Ralph Wolf? Whatever. The point is that this game, even though I haven't played it, probably has my favorite soundtrack from anything ever. I mean, listen to this. The first thing you nerds may notice is that no, this does not sound like 1950s jazz, cause it isn't. Sheepdog and Wolf tried something new. It completely modernized an old series, then gave it this updated funk style that sounds like it just came out of a Guy Ritchie movie. And because this game is literally about a series of heists, it just happened to fit more than perfectly. It's the same thing LA Noire did, taking something old and modernizing it.
So now we're going to jump around in time a little bit, and the next 2 games I'm going to sort of talk about at once.
Bioshock and Cuphead are 2 very different games, made for very different times with very different styles, but they all fit into this overarching point of games that tailor music to their setting. Bioshock specifically is a shooter, so I can't show much of the footage, which is why I can't talk about this one for as long as I'd like to. In it, the devs took the rich, pompous atmosphere of the upper-class Americans in the 1960s and ran with it, creating an underwater city called Rapture, which, inevitably, gets completely deserted through the less than ethical means of running it. Because of the setting, the soundtrack sounds as though it were being played through a gramophone, and hearing that through the echoing deserted halls both creates unease and utter awe. I'm not even kidding, this game is cool the way it creates atmosphere.
Here's a real high-class bout, and begin!
Cuphead is also a shooter, but it's a cartoon, so I can show it.
Stop! You violated the law!
This game takes off from 30s cartoons, much in the same way Sheepdog and Wolf takes off of Looney Tunes, but instead maybe think of Betty Boop or Mickey Mouse. I can assure you everyone watching this already knows what Cuphead is, and that it's similar to Bendy and the Ink Machine, so I'm not even gonna bother making that comparison. But this game's soundtrack was authentically recorded in a studio with real people instead of computer-generated sounds, quite the feat for two guys who had to sell their house in order to make this game. It used a lot of big band, a style that was created in the 1910s but popularized in the 30s with Count Basie and Duke Ellington, plus many, many more composers all listed on the screen. If you're interested in Cuphead and want to learn more about the game itself, I'd recommend Pyrocynical's Cuphead vs. the Fandom, if you've got an hour and 10 minutes of time to throw away, that is.
Not the yadas! Not the yadas!
Okay, so now that I've shown you 4 examples of video games that use jazz to reinforce the setting, we're gonna talk about something a little bit lighter, specifically 3 games that use jazz just for the sake of being good music. And what this means is that I need to do less work for the research department of this video, so really, it's a win-win for everyone.
Superliminal was surprisingly developed by Epic Games, a group that was most well known for, you guessed it, Fortnite. That might be one of the reasons why Superliminal is very overlooked, simply because it was kind of lost in the glory of Fortnite that no one really pays attention to it, or any of the other games Epic creates, so consider this when I say the game is free and you should really look into it if you have the means. It's completely puzzle-based with some spooky elements, emphasis on some.
I don't like the lack of music. I wanted something calm. I wanted something calm.
But they're really like Yume Nikki tier scares. I wouldn't even call it scary for that matter, more surreal. It uses dream therapy, something I've covered in a previous video, go watch it, link in the description, and it was originally intended to be a kind of relaxant for the character, but spirals into madness after they get stuck within the dream. Sound familiar? Because of the whole relaxing therapy aspect, the music is tailored to be just that, relaxing. A lot of the soundtrack are simple piano tunes that fall under the subgenre of jazz cafe or Paris cafe. Even the seemingly spooky scenes have these chill drums. There's always that constant therapeutic rhythm in the background that really keeps the game from spiraling into complete madness. Also, the end credits feature this groovy lofi tune. I don't know if lofi is considered jazz, but it's worth mentioning anyways. Someone even made a 1-hour mix of a good part of the soundtrack, lo-fi-ified. Grats, dude. You're doing the world a good service. I really considered whether this one should get in the video or not, and ultimately I decided to include it because over the course of all 5 main titles in this series, not that one.
I'm sorry!
Rayman brings a lot of great music to the table, and not just jazz. The Great Escape's The Canopy features this snazzy, creeping song that escalates into a pretty cool funk tune, with a muted trumpet and even a marimba. As a mallet percussionist, I always love hearing my instrument getting little solos, but that's besides the point. The newest title, Rayman Legends, and its phenomenal water-themed section, 20,000 Looms Under the Sea, has a foundation pretty much built on jazz. However, it experiments by adding more instruments and plays with the bass idea, eventually ending in the climactic, almost big band metal-style finisher for the section's boss, Mechanical Dragon. Not to mention, the first game has a whole area called Bandland where the enemies and platforms are instruments. Its boss is literally a saxophone. But like I mentioned before, what makes Rayman's soundtrack great is it kind of mimics what Sheepdog and Wolf did, taking an old bass idea and adding to it, making it more interesting and fun to listen to, while still paying homage to the source material.
Before we go over the last game on our list today, I want to do some honorable mentions. These are games that I wanted to cover but couldn't because of the content that they have in them or for time's sake, so enjoy.
I regret nothing. I can tell this is going to be an interesting day. At least the news isn't all bad.
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and eat pizza?
Alright, now that that's over with, our last game is Gran Turismo 5.
This was one of the first video games I ever got my hands on. It's so old I genuinely don't remember buying it. Considering that this is a racing game, it's pretty hard to see where the jazz comes in, but hear me out. Gran Turismo has a massive variety of music, a good amount of it being either funk or hard rock that's mostly playing in the background while you're racing, But man, I'm telling you, when you first boot it up and are introduced to the relaxing menu backgrounds and the chill music, oh my god, does it bring back some good memories. I used to, and still do, put this soundtrack on or even boot up the game and leave it going while I do homework, cause it just hits the mark of being so relaxing. And the devs realized this. They even made a little menu for you in your garage that has all the music in the game, and you can sort them by genre, make your own playlists, or shuffle the whole library, and this is something that I really appreciate in video games. In fact, it was this soundtrack that made me get into jazz and eventually join jazz band, and there's a specific song, the one playing right now, that made me want to play the vibes.
Where did I wake up? God, I can't.
All these playlists are on YouTube as well, so if you need something to study and if you need a break from the lo-fi girl, go listen to Gran Turismo Jazz. I'll link it in the description. There's also smooth jazz, dance, and even classical playlists, plus many more for your listening pleasure, so go enjoy them.
In conclusion.
Anyways, that's where I'm gonna leave off the video for today. It's been a pleasure making this for the ladies and gentlemen in my jazz band class, and to be completely honest, these videos always get me subscribers, but shh. Alright, let's go ahead and get going with the credits because I'm trying to wrap things up.
There we go. Okay, so hello everyone and welcome to the credits yet again. Hopefully the credits did not get messed up, but I assume they did. So anyways, thank you all for watching, especially thanks to my jazz band teacher who let me make a video like this for the Quarter 3 project. I think that's pretty cool. And thank you to the people in my jazz band who watched this, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. As far as things coming up for the future, I've got a giant list of stuff I want to do next. I'll put it up on the screen, but pretty much a lot of horror game stuff. Yeah, who knows if any of that stuff will happen. I assume it won't, but we'll just have to see where it goes. Yeah, I guess I am going to run and, I don't know, maybe go eat some ice cream or something. Alright, peace.